All right, let's talk about a job in AI that can pull in six figures, often lets you work from anywhere, and get this, you might not even need a computer science degree to get it. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, today, we're diving deep into the world of prompt engineering. We're going to look at the eye-popping salaries, the skills you probably already have, and a real, actionable map to help you land one of these jobs. Let's jump right in. Yeah, you're seeing that number correctly. $335,000. That is not a typo. That is the reported top-end salary for a senior prompt engineer over at Anthropic, one of the huge players in the AI space. A number like that, wow, it tells you everything you need to know about how valuable this skill has become. And look, this isn't just some one-off fluke. It's the very peak of a massive, and I mean massive, growing demand.
And it's not just about that one top-tier job. Right now, as we speak, there are over 10,000 open positions in this field. Think about that. The job market here has seen something like 300% growth year over year. It's just staggering. As every company starts weaving AI into how they work, the need for people who can actually, talk to these AI models is absolutely exploding. This isn't some passing fad. We are literally watching the birth of a whole new profession.
And don't think for a second this is just a US thing. It is a completely global phenomenon. I mean, you can see here the US is leading the pack for sure, but the demand is everywhere. But here's the real game changer for a lot of people, the flexibility. A whopping 70% of these jobs are either remote or hybrid. That means this opportunity is open to talented people pretty much anywhere in the world. Okay, so we've established the opportunity is huge and it's global. But let's get down to brass tacks, right? The question that's on everyone's mind, how much money are we really talking about? Let's break down the salary potential.
Just look at this progression. This is the career ladder in action. Right out of the gate, an entry-level role is averaging around 95 grand. That's a great start. But then, with just a few years of experience under your belt, boom, that jumps to an average of $160,000. And once you hit that senior level, you're looking at an average of $270,000. The potential to grow your income here it's incredibly fast and very, very lucrative.
So let's zoom in and get a little more specific on those levels. As a junior prompt engineer, maybe with a year or two of experience, you can expect a salary somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000. Then you move up to a standard prompt engineer role, say 2 to 5 years in, and now you're in the $120K to $200K range. And then at the senior level, with 5+ years of experience, well, that's where things get really exciting. It starts at $200,000 and, like we already saw, can soar way past $300,000.
And believe it or not, it can get even crazier at the very top. We're talking about the big tech giants. The Googles, the Microsofts of the world. They are in an all-out talent war for these folks. For the most experienced senior prompt engineers, they are reportedly throwing around packages from $250,000 to over $400,000, especially when you start factoring in things like stock options. It's just wild.
Now, maybe climbing that corporate ladder isn't your thing. Maybe you'd rather be your own boss. Well, the freelance route is just as hot. Experienced consultants are commanding anywhere from $100 to $500 an hour. You can land projects that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. So yeah, plenty of opportunity there too.
All right, so the pay is obviously fantastic. We get it. But here's the big question, right? This is where the rubber really meets the road. What skills do you actually need to earn that kind of money? What does it take to get your foot in the door? So let's talk about those skills. And right off the bat, I want to bust a major myth. A lot of people hear AI job and they immediately think coder. And while technical skills definitely help, the real foundation of a great prompt engineer, it's often built on something else entirely. It is so much more than just writing code.
We can really split the skills you need into two main buckets. On one side, you have the core skills. Think of these as the absolute non-negotiable must-haves. And then on the other side, you have the technical skills. These are the ones that are super valuable and can really boost your paycheck.
Let's start with those core skills, because this is where people from all sorts of backgrounds, writers, researchers, lawyers, can really shine. We're talking about being a master of language. Can you write clearly? Can you give precise instructions? That's key. It's also about critical thinking, taking a huge, messy problem and breaking it down into smaller pieces. And it's about having a conceptual feel for how these AI models think, and using cool techniques like chain of thought, which is really just a fancy way of saying you guide the AI step by step to get a much better result.
Okay, now let's talk about the technical side.
And remember, while this stuff isn't always a requirement for every single job, it's a huge advantage. Knowing how to code, especially in a language like Python, lets you build way more complex things and automate your work. You'll also want to get familiar with the key tools of the trade, things like LangChain for building AI apps and Git for managing your projects. Honestly, think of these skills as rocket fuel for your career.
And this right here might be the most important part. Your unique background is your superpower. Seriously, think about it. A marketing expert who also knows how to get the best results from an AI is infinitely more valuable than just a generic prompt writer. The same goes for someone in law or healthcare or finance. That specific industry knowledge, that domain expertise, that's what makes you invaluable.
Okay, so you're excited. You can see how your own skills might fit into this picture. You want in. The big question is, where do you even begin? Well, let's lay out a clear, step-by-step roadmap to take you from just learning about this to actually earning a paycheck.
It really boils down to 4 main stages. First, you got to learn the fundamentals. No skipping this part. Second, and this is crucial, you build a portfolio to show off what you can do. Third, you find ways to get some real-world experience. And finally, you start networking and applying for those jobs. Look, it's a marathon, not a sprint, but it is absolutely an achievable goal.
So, what does this actually look like on a calendar? Well, plan on spending the first month or so really digging in and learning the fundamentals. Then, give yourself a couple of months, say weeks 5 through 12, to focus purely on building a killer portfolio. After that, for the next few months, you're hunting for experience, maybe freelance gigs, maybe a project at your current job. The point is, within 6 to 12 months, you could realistically be in a position to competitively apply for these full-time roles.
Let's double-click on that portfolio piece for a second, because it is the most critical part of this entire puzzle. This is not a nice-to-have. It is absolutely essential. We're talking about a collection of your actual work, case studies where you solved a real problem, examples of your most clever and effective prompts. It's the tangible proof that shows an employer you can actually do the job. It's your key to the front door.
And this really brings us full circle, right back to what we said at the very beginning. In this new field, what you can do matters so much more than what your degree says. Demonstrated ability beats formal credentials almost every single time. A portfolio that shows you can create real value is way more powerful than just another line on a resume. It's all about showing, not just telling.
So, to wrap this all up, let me leave you with a big question to chew on. We're building these incredible machines that can answer pretty much anything we throw at them. So as these AIs get smarter and smarter, could it be that the most valuable human skill left is simply the ability to ask the perfect question? Because at the end of the day, that's what a prompt engineer does. And that, right there, is why this whole field might just be getting started.